Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very interesting and special review, a knife that was passed around from our Apex group, something we received in from We Knives. So thank you very much to We Knives for allowing our group, all the knife channels here, to experience the We Evoke. This is a really cool Ray Laconico design. We is the manufacturer. Really great quality, titanium scales, beautiful design, nicely rounded corners everywhere. Just a beautiful touch of a knife. The designer, obviously Ray Laconico, which is simple. I call him simplistic elegance and beauty. To design something simply and look elegant and have perfect fit and form and function, to me is art, right? You can be simplistic and it be not very logical, but this is so logical in so many ways, and it just works. And I like this knife so much for the pass around that I ended up actually buying my own version of this because I wanted this. Now I like the black version, so I got a black one. This was the color that was shared with our group from We Knives. So thank you to We for allowing me to compare the two different finishes, which is kind of cool. You can see the difference. So if you're wondering, comparing the two, what's the difference? Blue anodization screws and pivots and thumb studs. Over here it's brass anodized, black titanium. This one, both are stone washed. You can see that, but the blue stone wash always has a beautiful luminescent, it kind of reflects in the sun. It looks really beautiful. So if you like that, that's definitely something worth considering. The blades have beautiful drop point, I would say, or clip point. I guess this is a clip point really. Beautiful sharp edge, flat grind, and the action's beautiful, right? So this one we don't do anything with. We don't touch, we don't take apart, we don't oil, we barely do anything to it. So it's just an experience out of the box, and it's quite good, I will tell you that much. It's really quite fantastic. So the clip is beautiful and very flexible, which is really nice. Works great in and out of the pocket. Already tested this, so it's really wonderful. The thumb studs work really nice for reverse flick. I can do left-handed right here like this, use that, or I can just come up here and I can actually do it with my hands as long as I don't put any pressure on there. You just got to make sure you got a good grip, right? So what I find is it's easier for me to control the knife if I put my thumb onto the pocket clip when I'm doing it lefty, right? It's always a little more challenging. Just to do a regular thumb flick with the lefty is fine. And then when I hold this, I got to make sure I have a nice grip to do it like that. Lefty's always going to be a little challenging. This is a right hand only. It's not reversible, so lefty, sorry. But for righty, I can always use my finger over here, and it works really well. Let's talk about this. Titanium, beautiful, like I said, anodized, stone washed, beautiful clip, everything rounded all the way around. It's a front flipper. You can see that beautiful jimping right here, works really well. It's perfect tractions, goes all the way up to the top and works really nicely. I mean, you can also do the finger like that. And when you drop it, you've got this nice little blade choil area. It comes down, a guillotine's not going to cut you, and you can catch it really well, and it drops. The action's beautiful, beautifully dead centered, right? All this thing. Even this, it's a little sharp here, but it's not terrible, and it really puts the clip goes really between the lock bar and the frame. So you're not going to have a whole lot of drag and pocket rippage going on there. And there's plenty of room to clear there. And it's relatively deep carry. So you get about that much sticking out. It's not fully hidden, but it's definitely deep carry out. So it goes all the way up to here. So almost completely hidden. If you get a black knife, obviously that'll be a little more hidden, unless you get, of course, like I did, the brass screws. That'll kind of stand out a little bit. But I think nicely, right? Like I said, the action is wonderful, really is wonderful, and I like Ray Laconico's design. So thumb studs work both for front and reverse flipping. We talked about that. The front flipper works really, really nicely. So you've got multiple deployments. I really like that. It is a frame lock. It's got a steel bar insert over travel stops. That works really nicely. You're not going to go too far. And it has nice cutaway, a nice relief to get to that lock bar with a little chamfering right there. You see that? So the chamfering, it's nice and easy. It's not harsh. It doesn't got to dig in your hands. It's not going to be uncomfortable. So it works really, really nicely. I like that. Blade grind, like I said, it's a flat grind, but comes to a pretty thin edge. It's not a thick blade. It's pretty thin. I'm going to guess when we measure this in a second, we're looking at 0.1 inch, 0.11 inch, something around there. It's pretty thin, which makes it a nice slicer. And that's about it for opening and closing. That works really, really nicely. I do like the It's got beautiful drop action. You see that? I mean, that's one of those things that we've just been getting better and better. Just really nice drop action. Many times I don't have to put skiff washers in, but I still do. And sometimes it's minuscule changes that you see, but it's always nice. I like putting the skiff washers. Their control tolerances are just a little nicer, and sometimes make a knife that's great even better. So I like that. All right, Loctite. We already talked about it. It is a frame lock, obviously. We talked about that. So let's do a little bit about the weight and measurements. Let's get into the measurements. Are we on? Nope, we're on grams. Let's go to ounces. Okay. So the weight of this knife is 3.73 ounces. So 3.73 ounces, not a super heavy knife, right? But not a super light knife. All right. And part of that is going to be, if you notice in here, there's not a whole lot of, there's no relief cut, there's no milling. So this titanium hasn't been thinned out, but it's already a pretty thin piece of titanium as far as what's concerned up there, right? When you look at some of the other knives, even like this one right here, this is the Keen. This is another Ray Laconico design, by the way. This is the Mini Keen. This was a Caviezo collab, but even this here is thicker than this other one, and it almost has a similar weight because it's contoured, and this one's pretty flat. But these edges aren't as rounded, nicely rounded as these are. So, you know, it's a give and take, right? You have different things that can occur. So that is, I think, adds to some of the weight, but, you know, I'm okay with that. So let's look at the measurements and see how long this guy is. All right, so overall length, we're looking at right at 8 inches. It's exactly at 8 inches. We're looking at the blade to the handle. We're right at 3.5 inches from the tip to the handle. Our cutting length that we're looking at is going to be, I want to say probably, yeah, we're probably 3 3/8 of an inch, maybe 3, 3/8 and 3/8, somewhere around there. You know, it's 3.3, about 3.3 inches, right? So overall handle length going from here to here, we're looking at about 4 inches total. We go a little to the end, we got a 4 1/4. If you choke up, which you have a little bit of choke up, you can probably come all the way up here. So you're about 4.5 inches. So definitely larger hands, extra large, double extra large hands could fit this nicely if you're okay with the thinness of the blade. I think that works out really nicely. I do like that a lot. All right. So let's talk about the blade stock thickness. Let's look at that. That's going to be where I think it's pleasantly surprising. I think it's pretty thin here. Okay, so I was wrong. It is a little thicker. It's 128 thousandths of an inch, so 0.128 inches, right? So definitely a little over 1/10 of an inch, but certainly well less than 2/10 of an inch. I thought it was a little thinner than that. You know, let's just double check that. Yeah, 127 thousandths of an inch. So it's not a super thin blade, but it feels thin. I think it's because of the flat grind and then this beautiful swedge up here. And so you've got really the most thickest part of the blade is going to be this right here and where the 2 points come together. You can see it's a relatively thin tip, so it's great like to get into boxes and packaging and letters and, you know, cases of water or, you know, manure if you have, or sorry, fertilizer, or yeah, you know, if you do a lot of gardening, you might buy something like that, right? You're probably not going to use this. You're probably going to have more of a rugged knife for that one, but you know, if this is what you got, it's what you got, right? You can definitely do that. It's got a nice tip for cutting into things like that. Cases of water, I think I already said, but dog food, cat food, all the different things that you might take care of. So I like that. So it's a pretty not super thick, but not super thin. So that's nice. It gives it some stability. All right, so let's talk about what's the category in this one. This one is definitely going to be in the regular realm. It is definitely under $300. It's over $200, but it's definitely under $300. So it's a really good price. I think what you get for the size of the knife, it's not super small. It's definitely a full-size 8-inch total knife. So, you know, you can see I've got medium to medium large hands. They're large widthwise, medium lengthwise. So wise, I've got plenty of room over here. So extra large, double extra large, I think you'll have room. If you choke up even, you definitely have a ton of room, right? So there's that positive. You can still come up, do a nice precision cut. It's got a nice tip. You can do that with that clip point. You definitely have a nice flat point where you can push that cut through. You can use that belly of or the tip. So that's really nice. I think that's a definite benefit. So definitely a regular knife. It's not a high end and it's not a budget knife, but I think you get a lot of bang for the buck, and the design I think it's well worth it. For some people, you're gonna be like, it's the same thing. It doesn't look anything. fine. It's not your cup of tea. Some people don't like Ray Laconico designs, and I get it. If you don't like Ray Laconico designs, then this is not for you. I get that. And that's okay. There's plenty of other knives out there that I'm sure that you will enjoy, but some of us really enjoy Ray Laconico designs, and I like this one in particular. And when I held this Apex pass around that We Knives allowed us to have, I said, I gotta have one. And that's why I bought one for myself, because I liked it that much. Really works nicely. By the way, no hot spots when you're gripping all this, so we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so the purpose. This for me is EDC, absolutely EDC. Could it be hard use? Yeah, absolutely, you could do some hard use. I don't know if I would be doing prying. It's not a super thick blade, so you're not gonna be out there whacking logs and wood and cutting woods open. I mean, if you were in a pickle and that's all you had, I'm sure you could probably get away with it, but I'd be careful, right? This is really more regular, everyday EDC. Great for everything in the office and the home. I think will be more than enough, and very reliable and very solid with the frame lock. I think that'll be really great. Is it a collection piece? Well, if you're a Ray Laconico fan, yeah, you might collect this, but everything I collect, I use, and that's me. Some people buy knives to collect in their collection, and they never use them. That's absolutely fine. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. So, everything I buy, I use, and it's not because I go out and beat it up and whack it with hammers and stuff. Some of my nicer end knives, I carry those, but I will have maybe an extra fifth pocket knife in case I need to do something that's a little more tough, if you will, and I don't want to mess a really nice knife up. So I'm not going to go out and whack bricks and cut trees down or anything like that, but I am going to use it, and I am going to carry it. And this to me is a great church knife. It'd be a great everyday carry for all around the house. Lots of things that I could use this for. So I really like that a lot. But like I said, it could be a collection piece if you want. If you really like and you like Ray Laconico, you might want to add this. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the ergonomics and feel, the design. I love the design. The handle is great. Everything is rounded, no sharp edges all around here. Everything rounded, even the corner here, all around it, which is, I have a Chavez, and I love my Chavez Redition kickstop. Beautiful knife. It had some really sharp corners, and that was made by Riot, and I had to chamfer or buff those corners down to take that super sharp edge because it was digging into my hand. Once I did that, that made a different knife, and I shared how I did that with some folks, and other people did it, and it changed the knife for them, because some people actually got rid of the knife because there's two sharp corners. This, you're not going to find out that issue on this knife at all. Beautifully rounded all the way around. Just some really nice touches. I like that a lot. Everything, nothing as sharp as digging in. So to me, that's even nice. Even the front flipper, look at it, it's rounded on top. So you just as long as you get a nice proper placement, you're going to have an easy time to front flip this thing. It's not going to be a problem. You can even do it left-handed over here like that. You can even do the slow roll. Did you see that? I can do the slow roll if you're really a slow roll fan. Some of you people may not like to flip it. You feel like that's a little too aggressive, or maybe you're in a place where you don't want to do a quick, and people think it's some sort of automatic, and it freaks them out and scares them. Well, anyways, I like the design. All right, I like the design of the blade. I like the thinness. It still is very sleek, long, and elegant, but has a nice finger place where I can really grip, and I'm not going to slide around. So I'm going to have a nice, solid presentation. I'm not going to feel if I'm doing a really tough cut, which I might be. I might be cutting a rope or box or something. I don't feel like my hand's going to slip or slide. Some of the knives, sometimes you can get a knife that, like this, looks really thin. And if it wasn't for the flipper right here, I mean, if this had no flipper right here, this could easily, you could slide your hand up and cut it, right? So I like the fact that at least it has a flipper. Now I can kind of choke up a little bit, but that's if I'm doing like a precision cut. But like I said, I like the ability to secure my hand so I'm not going to slide and get on the blade. This does that really nicely. So to me, that is a great design. And everything's nicely, nothing's super sharp. I mean, it's still enough that if you had a Ferris rod, I guess you could start a fire, but it's not crazy sharp here. Like some of them sometimes are just ridiculously, like there's no, no buffing of that edge out whatsoever. Everything here is comfortable, very comfortable, and that jimping is very functional. It's not super aggressive. It's not going to shred your finger up, so that's great. Opening and closing is wonderful. I love front flippers. I enjoyed them. I love thumb stubs. I enjoy them. They work really nicely, both right and left-handed, as I've already showed many, many times. And so I know some of you guys don't like me opening and closing as I go through the review. It's distracting, and I apologize. And so because of that, I'll only do it if, 5 or 10, 100 more times. I don't know, just kidding. But anyways, I do like that. Everything works really well, opening and closing. And the closing action is beautiful. It drops. I love the fact that sharpening tool catches. You don't have to worry about cutting yourself. It does drop shut, and I believe as this breaks in, it's gonna just, drop shut even better. And it goes into the detent, nice lock, no detent lash. No blade rock. It's in there solidly. I like all of that. The lockup on this one is about 30-40%, so that's great. Fidget factor, for me, the fidget factor out of 1 through 10, because you have thumb studs and you have a front flipper, and that front flipper is multi-use, which to me, sometimes front flippers are like, you can barely get them to work and that's it. One finger, one way, that's it. You don't have an option. I like it when I can put my finger up like that, you know? Now, if I had long enough fingers, I can sort of do it, but my fingers are short. So if you had long fingers, you could easily you could easily do the reach around, right? So if I can just get right, yeah, see, my fingers are just too short. I can't reach quite around because, you know, they're short. So, but I figure if you have longer fingers, you could easily do that as well. So you have multiple ways to deploy it. I can't really get in there because it's not, you know, it's the swedge is like that, which is fine. That's okay because I got thumb studs, I got a front flipper, multiple front flipper I can use over here, even with my left hand, or I can do my thumb over here like that, which is all good. So I'm going to give this, for fidget factor, you know, it doesn't have a flipper, it doesn't have a reverse flipper, doesn't have a fuller or a thumb hole, but thumb studs, a lot of times, it's either thumb studs or fuller holes, so those are one of the two, so you don't lose points. So to me, this is an 8 out of 10. I like this. It has 8 out of 10 fidget factor. So, and that's because everything it does is it's executed really, really well. So 8 out of 10. So fidgety goodness, out of that 8 out of 10, for this particular knife, my experience, my personal opinion, is 100%. I like it. You know, Ray Laconico did it again. He just really executes front flippers so nicely, and his designs, though simple, are just perfect, and they work. They're functional. They are, I don't know how to put it. It's simplistic, ingenious design. You know, you can be ingenious in designing, you can make something look so simple, but it works so well. And that to me is almost sometimes harder to be able to do that, to make something work so well when it's so simple. And people could easily mistake something like that. You know, they could say, well, it's just too simple. It's not exciting. To me, it's exciting when you can execute fundamental things so well consistently, and it's just a comfortable knife to use over and over. And that's what this is for me. So fidgety goodness, 100%. Overall thoughts and my recommendation, absolutely 100% recommend it. 100% recommend it. Love this knife. I think it's a great value. For the $200, it's just a little over $200. I think it's like $220, maybe $210 to $220 or somewhere around there. Last I checked, at least as of this video, definitely a good price. You're getting titanium handles, you're getting beautiful 20 CV blade steel, that's CPM, so it's Crucible, USA made. Usually, if it's not PVD coated, these tend to have a Rockwell hardness between 59 and 61. I'm not going to sharpen this one, but when I do mine, I'm going to find out does it sharpen, is it a little tougher to sharpen, which means the Rockwell hardness usually is a little bit harder, or is it super soft and does the edge not retain as long? Typically, when they're not coated like this, I tend to have fairly decent fortune, right? So it doesn't always work, but typically it works really well for me. So I'm pretty excited, and they seem to be executing that part really well. If they hit 61, I'll be happy. 60, 61 would be good for me. All right, so I'm definitely going to recommend this. Everything else about it is really great. I think it's a good budget buy. I think it's not budget buy, but a good knife buy. It's low end. It's just right at $200. It's not even close to the $300 mark. It's not close to the $100 mark, so it's a really good regular buy. I think for the materials, what you get, even the size up to 8 inches here, I think that's just a really great deal. Sometimes when you get something like this, it's going to be much smaller. It's going to be like a 7-inch or 6.5-inch knife. This is a full 8-inch, so you know, even people with bigger hands, I think you'll enjoy this. And the roundedness really gives you a nice, and the flatness really gives you a nice presentation. Blade's not going to roll on you. It's pretty solid in there. The frame lock works really well. So all that to me is outstanding. I like that. So those are my thoughts. Hey, what are your thoughts? Any questions, any disagreements? Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I missed something? Let me know in the comments down below. Something you'd like to see in my reviews, something, my review and my impressions. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. I would definitely, include that in future ones. If you have any questions about the knife or the channel, please let me know as well. I do try to reply to all my comments, especially where, my channel is at a point where I definitely try to do that and engage with everybody. That's my favorite part of this channel, is talking and engaging with you guys. So I really do appreciate that. Hey, if you have anything you would like to see me for future Rob's Ramblings or other reviews, let me know. I'd love to hear it. I am going to be working on a sharpening video. I know a lot of people have been asking that, so I'm going to give you my perspective. I'm not a Jared. I'm not, from Neves Knives. I'm not, but I'm going to give you my perspective. So, if you're a little intimidated by, his over-the-top, super fantastic sharpening, which he does a really great job to break it down. So, if you're watching Jarrett, I mean, if you've already watched Jarrett, you may not get anything out of mine, but people have asked me what's my perspective, and I'll share it. Maybe you learn something from a different perspective. Sometimes people communicate small things that other people miss and just assume, right? That happens, right? And I don't know. I will work on that. So again, if you have any of those questions, let me know. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, you found it fun, interesting, worthwhile, or entertaining, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've hit that like button, would you consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel, allows the channel to grow, produce more content, do more things, and really, maybe even at the end, hopefully have more things for you guys, more giveaways as the channel grows. I'd love to see that. And if you've done all of that, maybe consider hitting the notification button so you can be notified of future content when it is released and dropped. And maybe check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Hey, thanks so much for watching today. You guys have a great day and a great week. Bye.